Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Lenard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. Today on the Real Estate Roundtable, we're diving into the world of first-time home buying, savvy investing, and the booming new construction market in Central East Florida. Our guest is Farzana Zalil, a powerhouse real estate agent and loan officer with Charles Rutenberg Realty in Orlando. Fluent in English, Gujarati, and Hindi, Farzana has carved out a niche helping first-time buyers and investors achieve financial freedom through real estate. Whether it's guiding a nervous first-time buyer through their first FHA loan or helping investors score the perfect fix and flip, Farzana brings unmatched expertise and heart to every deal. So if you've ever wondered how to build wealth through real estate or how to leverage today's loan programs for your next big move, you're going to love this conversation. Let's get started. Farzana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, take us back a little. What first drew you to real estate and loan origination? Was there a moment where you knew this was the path for you?
I think yes. I think I come from a sales background. My family's into sales. If we had jewelry stores that would help them. I knew sales was always my thing. And then in 2018, I separated from my husband. I was a housewife prior to that. I'm like, what do I do that can get me income and have me enjoy what I do? I knew I wasn't born to be chained to a desk. I wanted something beyond just sitting at the desk. My brother-in-law is a loan originator. He's done mortgages for over 17 years. He's seen the 2008 cycle, the crash, all of this. So really well versed. And he was like, loans are where you need to be. So I went ahead and got my license. I actually was his assistant for a year. And I just told him, I said, you know what? He would always dissuade me from getting into real estate sales because he said, it's a lot. You have two little kids. You want to run around. This is better. This is 9 to 5. I'm like, no, I can't do it. At the end of the 1 year, it was pulling teeth, like just going through all those bank statements and documents and tax returns. And it's a lot of paperwork and it makes sense, but it was not for me. So I jumped into real estate. And at that time, because of working with him, I would also come across people who would apply for mortgages and not have a real estate agent. And I'm like, this is such a good opportunity for me to reach in and be like, hey, let me help you with that. And it came to me very naturally, to be honest. The exam was obviously painstakingly slow and painful. Like I know you'd ask any realtor, it has nothing to do with what you're actually working in the field. The both are, it's like almost that two different people created it. The industry was created by somebody else and the books were created by somebody else. And that's another thing that has brought me to where I am. I think this year I'm planning to take my broker's exam. And I think I want to be a broker who helps agents get leads, grow, because I think this is something that no one tells you that, hey, you come into the market, you become a realtor, you're on your own. There's really no teaching of how to become an agent hands-on, unless you're paying gobs of money to like KW for their Ignite program or something like that.
I have that.
So yeah, and I had been, because they give you the welcome letter, I sat through it and I'm like, I don't have $1,500. I've just started working. I have nothing. My card max was like $200 on my card. What am I going to do? So I had to figure it out. But of course, having somebody in the industry helped because my brother-in-law was in mortgages. That definitely helped. And COVID hit and my career just exploded because I was a new agent at that time. I wasn't afraid. I wore my mask. I wore my gloves. I took my sanitizer with me. And every deal that every person I took out bought.
Yes.
So I had 100% closing rate in 2020 and 2021. So it really did work out really well for me. And I took that money and I started moving into fix and flips because I was seeing things like my degree is in design. So I was like, oh, I can turn this house. There was nothing about a dirty old house that scared me. I always could see potential, and I think that became my niche. And that's why now I'd say 50, fix and flips is like 50% of my business. And then came with that investors. People started seeing what I'm doing and be like, hey, by the way, I have so much money. Can you help me? I'm like, yeah, sure, let me help you. That's fine. So I have some investors who fix, flip, and resell. Some just put tenants in place and buy and hold. So very many different kinds of investors have come my way. I still don't do much in commercial. I'm still residential highly, but I think that would also be my next step to learn the commercial side of it. So I think that quest to learn, the quest to grow has to be there constantly. I think ever if you get comfortable is when you start seeing yourself go a little down.
Yeah, definitely. What challenges did you face early on, and how did you overcome them?
I think challenges was not knowing anything. Like I said, what the book teaches you and what the industry needs are two different things. Coming in, no guidance, not knowing where do I go, who do I call. I'm a big proponent of any board that you're part of. I think the board gives you the tools. If you're not enjoying the board, is because you're really not utilizing it to the fullest.
It's
You
so
know,
true. The education is incredible in most boards. I was a part of Stellar too. I had to take the course before I got to put listings in. And
yeah,
every year I think I have to take the course for some reason. It was, for me, it was a secondary. It wasn't my primary. My primary is
right.
my secondary was West Volusia, and then, of course, Stellar
Yeah.
through that. And Aura has incredible things. I was part of the Miami board for about 4 or 5 years, and it was incredible how much tools, how many tools and how much education they give you that. And if you're a new agent, just finished school, guess what? You can learn so much by going to these
Right.
educational seminars and meet people, meet other agents,
Networking,
ask them
yes.
questions. Oh my God, the
Yes.
wealth of
Yes.
information you can collect in one of those. You don't
Yeah.
know what you're doing? Guess what? All those guys sitting in there, they're
Yeah.
either in the same shoe or they're doing their continuing ed and getting more
Right.
knowledgeable, and they already know what they're doing, but they want to learn and suck it up, get their designations, etc. Which is great that we have all these tools.
Yeah.
This is America, and I lived in several countries, and none of them have the complexity like we do here,
And I
for
think even
education.
like with this, some people are like, oh, I don't want to make the trip out to Winter Park or whatever. Okay, do it from home. They have virtual classes all the time. The beauty of going there is the networking element. So you get to talk to agents, and especially some who've been in business a long time. And I think for me that helped. Like I would go to my broker's events just to meet other agents. And now I go there to see who's the new kid on the block. Does he have that fire in them? Are they approaching me? Are they talking? Are they dressed sharp? How are they coming to the table? And so then I'm very interested to take that kid in and be like, hey, let me mentor you. Would you be interested in? Because I think the ultimate goal is to build a team, right? Because there's only so much you as one individual can do. I only have two other agents I work with frequently because I feel like they work so much like me. We have the same like code of ethics and all of that. It's different what they teach you on paper. Some agents do it right and some just don't give a damn about the client. And so I'm very focused on that. Don't chase the money, chase the person there, what's in their best interest, and the money will find your pockets. If you do it right, you will be successful. If you chase the dollar amount, you're never going to get that far.
Every person I interview that's an agent, that I interview a lot of agents, all of them are pretty successful. They all say that. Don't chase the money. Make sure the client's taken care of. That's
Care
number
of
one. And
100%.
if you take care of the client, they'll refer new business to you. They'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in real estate, you'll be their number one
Yeah.
contact.
Like
Of
I'm
course,
at this point, like when I first became an agent, I was buying zip codes because I had to start somewhere. I needed work. And for me, realtor.com worked really well. I bought some zip codes, but I was buying within Seminole County because that's what I'm most familiar with. I've been in Seminole County for 22 years. So I stuck with that. And then now I'm at a point where I don't need to buy leads because all my business is referral. Everything. I have about 10 listings now. Each and every one is a referral or it's a prior client, which is great, right? Like you build that for yourself. Now, had I not done justice to my client the first time around, this business today would not be in my hands.
correct. And
Yeah.
they teach you in the beginning, if you go to KW, that it takes about 6 to 7 years to get to the point where your referral cog starts working if you do
Right.
it right and you follow up with those people. You can't just do a deal and never ever follow up with those people. Send them a magazine, send them a postcard, call them once in a while, ask how they're
Christmas
doing.
cards, holiday cards.
Yes.
I even like on Indian holidays, I send my clients on Eid, on the Muslim holidays, on the Hindu holidays, for Diwali, I send them things like whichever client, whatever I can service them and make it more personal. I do it because it's again, like I said, it's not about the money. You let them know that, hey, you're still my thoughts. I think about you, be it only once or twice a year. You're still important to me. And you had made me part of your journey. The biggest purchase of their life is their home. Like they included you in there, they trusted you with that. That's the least you can do.
So let's talk about this. We're talking about deals. What was your very first deal like, and what did you learn from it? Everybody has this nightmare story for first deal. I hope. Let's see what you got.
I think my first was not such a nightmare. My first was my mom's friend. She took a chance on me. I obviously gave her a break on the commission, and I had never done a listing before. My first deal was a listing. Most people have it as
Nice.
a buyer. Yeah, but it was a listing. And I had another agent from CRR who was mentoring me. He's a good friend of my brother-in-law at that time, and he used to sit at his office. And he guided me through the process. And it was okay. We went under contract the first week. The roof was older. The buyers backed out and stopped inspection midway. So there was a lot of anxiety because obviously this is my only source of income, right? So there's a lot of, oh, if this deal goes, the money goes. How am I going to make it through month number 2, month number 3? So I think I've also seen agents who do best are the ones who do this full time. Because I think if you don't have that nervousness attached to every deal, that little bit of anxiety that, hey, is this going to go through? Is it not? I don't think you do it as well. If it's just, oh, if it happens, I feel like that attitude doesn't get you too far sometimes. It's okay to manage your anxiety, but I feel that slight nervousness keeps it all still very exciting. I had a deal that I worked with a very close friend of mine, Lisa. She and I were doing a deal, I want to say 2020. It was a nightmare. My buyer was actually committing mortgage fraud and got caught on the day of closing. So then and her sellers had moved out with 4 children sitting in a packed truck.
Wow.
And they were going to buy their house with the money from this sale. So they were like, we had 2 families homeless essentially because it was a domino effect. And it got ugly. But then we figured it out. At that time, there was a big mortgage company that they were I reached out to the owner of the company and I said, give me a solution here, right? So she came in and she said, if they get a co-signer, we can get this done. But the law, they have to do a 7-day mandatory wait. The disclosures have to be whatever, and the 3-day wait period and all this stuff. So overall, we needed 7 days before we could close. So my buyers then compensated the sellers for that time because they had to stay in a hotel. They couldn't go back. Everything was packed up. They had 4 kids. They had a truck full of things. So we worked out on a number. Everyone was in agreement. That was the time that I thought I was going to have a heart attack and die. Like I just
Sound like one of those.
I'm going to die. And me and my colleague Lisa, since that day, it's like one of those post-traumatic stress. We have a trauma bond that we are never going to be able to break. Like she and I like prayed together, cried together, and we're like, oh my God, we couldn't believe it was happening. And we had never met before. That was the only deal we met on. And even till date, like we just listed a house in D-Land together. We're like this. If I need anything, she's the first person I call. And in fact, some days I'll just call her to be like, just pray. Just pray for my deal, pray for my listing, pray for it.
That is great. I am happy you guys solved that. Just
Yeah.
another thing that you can do in a situation like that, if they can afford it, is hard money.
Yeah.
You know?
At that time, I was naive too, right? It was one of my first few deals. We didn't know options. And plus, they were not gonna qualify by themselves. They did need a co-signer. The rates were still really good at that time. They was in the 3s.
Oh yeah.
And it was a beautiful time to buy. It was such a perfect little family. She was pregnant, blonde hair, blue eyes, young couple, last people on the planet you were expecting to pull such a fast one, right?
It's whatever it takes, kind of. I think it wasn't in their head
Yeah,
that they're committing fraud.
I don't think they knew the gravity of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think they understood what was going on. But at that time, obviously, we have this conversation with buyers and sellers all the time. Hey, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Please don't go open credit cards, don't do this. If the person's going to retire, don't have them co-sign for you, because that when the verification of employment comes out, they're going to find out. So every time they think they're going to outbeat the system, you cannot beat the system. There's a protocol that's followed and everyone gets caught because this protocol is followed. Because they'll be like, oh, I switched my job midway through the loan. I'm like, no, you don't do that. because then the loan can collapse. Because I had somebody on a new build. Thankfully, he decided to tell me it was building from scratch, so we had 8 months on the contract. When he was pre-approved, he was with another job. Like maybe 3 weeks prior to closing, he said, "Oh, I switched my job." I'm like, "Wait, you did what?" So I said, "You need to let the lender know, because when they do the verification of employment morning of closing, they're going to realize you've switched and this loan is going to collapse." So again, hustle. He said, "But I'm making more money." I said, "Yeah, but it's a different industry." All
You
that,
need 3 months of blah 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 paychecks, etc., etc.
So always my one thing to everybody buying and selling, please be transparent with your agent. Whatever the hell you're doing, whether you're buying a refrigerator or you're switching your job, you need to let your agent know what you're doing, because that can make or break the loan. And I think with
Correct.
me being an LO, that's I think my USP. I understand the loan side of it really well. So when they're messing up, I can catch them really early on and be like, "Hey, that's not going to fly."
That's an amazing skill to have, by the way. So you've built a reputation for helping first-time buyers and investors succeed. In your experience, what are the biggest myths or misconceptions people have about buying a home, especially in Seminole County?
So the thing with Seminole County is I think everyone comes back and is, "Oh, there's no new construction here." Right? Because it's an old city, except for parts of Sanford that's by the airport. That side is different. That side is still growing. You could get new builds there, but there's nothing there besides the Publix, really. And you have some access to the 417 or whatever. It's growing, and maybe a good time to get in if you have the ability to hold for the next 5 years, right? But also that part of Sanford is still evolving. So it really depends on how much you're willing to stay there and all that. If you want Lake Mary, there's no land to build in Lake Mary. So everyone's like, "Oh, the house is built in 1980." Let me tell you this, old homes have good bones. I'm not like, I think the older homes are built much better than the newer construction. The plumbing, the electrical, everything is so much nicer on an older home. Like nowadays in the new build, you could literally throw a punch and make a hole through the wall. And not to say that new homes are not great, but don't be afraid. If the location is good, if the school district is good, if that's where you want to be, don't be afraid of an old home. Like I have a house in Ormond that's built in 1956, 100% block. Even the inside walls are block. I can't even put a microwave on without chiseling through the wall. It's amazing. So let's say, don't be afraid. I think the myth is that, "Oh, if it's old, I'm not going to get resale value." No. Even Dr. Phillips, right? You have such a good neighborhood. There's nothing being built there except for the newer part, that's the 3-6 zip code. Don't be afraid. If it's the location, the lot size you want to be in, an old home still is really good. In fact, it's done settling. So you're going to see no surprises with an old home. Everything that you have is right in front of you. It stood many a hurricanes. It has gone through many a floods. It's done everything it needs to, and it's outlived. The myth, I think, is this age of the home that scares most people.
That too, and then the new construction homes have higher ceiling heights and stuff like that. That's one of the things that I've noticed when I take people around. I open concept, higher ceilings, stuff like that. They're looking for. You can't find it in all the old homes. You can find it in old homes. Don't get me wrong, but then you're looking at not a $300,000-$400,000 price range. You're looking at a $600,000-$700,000 price
Yeah.
range to find those older homes that have the sort of newer features, because
Yeah.
even when they were building it back then, they were already building it up to the newer standards, I think, or it was just vaulted ceilings or cathedral ceilings. And that gives you the feel of higher ceiling heights, as well as it is higher ceiling heights.
Right.
But it's just a different price range. You can find it in old homes. But if you look at the average older home, they're 8.5 maybe foot ceiling heights. The kitchen's usually closed off. So you're going to need
Right.
to open some walls and do some renovations to it to make it more modern.
Yeah. I
Feel.
think the vision, like most people don't, like they see it for what it is. And that's where I succeed as doing fix and flips. So I go and I knock down walls all the time, as long
Yeah.
as it's not load bearing. Most likely, if I go into the house, I'm tearing walls down, because I know now open concept. Like I'm currently flipping one in a koi. Same thing. The living room had a giant wall. As soon as you enter the kitchen, has a giant wall. I'm like, I just knocked the wall down because it was just a faux wall. Like at that time, they used to like to create spaces,
Yeah.
and they would just put these strange walls with nothing in them, and we just knock it down and that's it, because the ceiling is not even touching on top, so you know that wall is useless. You
Yeah.
just knock it down. It took all of 15 minutes for them to knock that wall down, and I suddenly have this giant lovely living room that's one single space versus two different, a formal and a casual and all this
Correct.
stuff. So if you have the vision, it's doable. And also, like to your point, all those bells and whistles in a new home is going to cost you so much more money.
Oh yeah,
If you have the vision with an older home to buy and renovate, renovations don't cost as much. It's just scary to people because they don't know how much it's going to cost.
correct. But if you get a right contractor out there that knows what they're talking about,
Yeah.
give you a right estimate on it, then
Yeah.
maybe you have your due diligence period and you're like, hey, I'm really interested in this house, but I want to make some changes to it. Have like preemptively find a contractor that you can trust, interview them, et cetera, et cetera. Have them come out with you and give you an estimate of how much it would be to
Yeah.
do
But
that. You know,
that's where an investor comes in, right?
yeah,
Investors are not afraid of these things.
no,
First time home buyers come in with a lot of anxiety because obviously they're down to the last penny, most of them, especially on the FHA side. The three and a
yes,
half is all they have. Sometimes they don't even talk to a lender. And I feel sometimes lenders fail the buyers, right? Because they tell them, oh, you need 3.5%. Hey, where's the closing cost going to come from?
yeah,
They don't prepare them financially at all. And I've seen this so many times because these people, poor guys, will only have their 3.5%. And then they're like, it's 15,000 in closing costs. Where are they going to come up with this 15?
correct.
So then we have to ask the seller, ask this one, ask that one, try to give lender credit, agent credits.
Or get
We've done
another
that several
loan.
times.
The hometown
It's not
heroes.
fair.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
fair because they were not informed correctly in the new build. Like the new build consultant almost never prepares them. And I know people love to go into new builds without agents. I'm like, you're going to suffer because you know what? Even at that time, they don't even tell them that the taxes are not accurate. Year
Yeah.
one, $400 up in payment. Oh, no one told me. Yeah, because you didn't have an agent when you went in. Because they're so fixated on not paying that agent their 2.5% that they forget that agent brings value onto the deal. So I always tell people, as buyers especially, get yourself an agent, go and get this done.
It's worth it. We could talk about it all day long, but I always say every podcast that an agent is worth its value. We
100%. 100%. And
are
I
worth
know
a run.
there are some agents that don't do their job. I get it. But you will know this very early on, whether this agent is doing justice by you or not. And when you're signing the buyer broker agreement, I actually only have people sign it for a week. You don't want to work with me in a week, you're free of it. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. I will never put that obligation on you to work with me for 6 months if you don't want to be with me. Or even in the end of that week or in 2 days, you feel like you don't want to work with me, I'll cancel it. I don't want to work with somebody who doesn't want to work with me. If I have not proved myself to you, you're absolutely free to go.
That is great.
Right?
It's a great way of doing things. I'm a little opposite on that. That question
Nuts.
about a listing that's not even mine, because you called me, you pressed the button on Zillow, and I'm like, God, you should at least know this much about real
Yeah.
estate that these are we
Yeah.
pay per lead for
Right.
these things, and if I'm paying $7,000 in Zillow leads
Yeah.
on and that's what we were paying 7 or 9,000 in 2022 a
Wow.
month. Yeah, that's
Wow.
a big
That's a
number,
lot.
and every phone call cost me $200 that came in. And I'm like, just picking up. So if you break it down, the 52 people that didn't do a deal with me, how much money did that cost me actually?
Yeah.
And that's when I came up with this year. Actually, I was coming up with this, how much I'm going to charge per showing, because look, you call me, that's costing me money. And now I'm getting in my car, which is insurance and driving and gas and
Totally.
time and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
costing me money. So let's do this a way that we both have skin in the game, not just me, but both
Right.
of us.
Right.
And then if you don't like that, then you're not a serious buyer in my eyes. So then why
Right.
are we talking about looking at houses if you're not willing to put up some?
Yeah.
And the only thing that we can come up with in our business is money. What else are you going to put up? You're going to
Yeah.
sign an agreement.
Even now with through realtor.com, they have the UpNest program, which is really great on the
I have
listing
that
side
too.
of it. I've gotten a lot of good leads, but again, it's sellers not wanting to pay commissions, not wanting to or wanting to list at a really high price, not giving appointments. And I'm like, listen, I can call, I can follow up, I can give you my time, I can tell you what I can offer you. But at 1%, it just you're going to get a half-ass service at that. And if you're okay with that, yeah, sure, I'll put it on the MLS at that 1% for you. But then you're not going to get the open houses. You're not going to get the Matterport walkthrough and the videos and the all the hoo-ha that I do for my regular clients. So you have to understand that yes, to your point, it costs us money. Like I'm with homes.com, they gave me the Matterport, but I pay for that membership.
Yes.
I pay to get those services. I pay for all that extra. I advertise your property the moment we list it. I use all these different platforms. To them, it seems right now the market is slow. So everyone feels, is this agent working for me? Yeah, I'm working for you, but the market, there are no buyers. Like it is dwindling right now. The system is, everyone's waiting for a rate to drop, or there's a lot of anxiety about what's going on
And
in the market
uncertainty.
overall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so true. I always tell them if they want to negotiate on my commissions, which is in their right, and I'm happy to negotiate my commissions. But I go, okay, so if you want me to do it for 1%, these are the services you're going to get. If you're going to
Yep.
do it for 2%, these are the services you're going to get.
Right.
If you want to do it for 3, these are the services you're going to get. If you want to do it for 4, I'll go above and beyond in magazines and newspapers and all those stuff too.
Yeah.
But you gotta understand that my service is like packages. I don't know if you heard about that, but you do like packages.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I show them in what you would like to do. And you get everything in my top tier, which is videography and all that stuff. And as you said, 1%, I'll put it in the MLS. I'll put your number there to contact you for showings. And don't call me if your house doesn't sell because you're not picking up your phone.
Yeah. And we see this all the time,
You
right?
know?
Because I reach out to the seller. Then I've had a property before where the seller was like, it was one of those flat fee companies.
Yeah.
It was the most painful deal of my life because now, even though I'm getting paid only what they were paying 2% for the buyer's agent, I was doing the work for both sides because he didn't have an agent on the other side.
Yeah.
So I literally wrote all the paperwork and did all of this and all of that. And I still got paid only fraction. And then I told my buyer, I said, you know what, that I know you were asking for something back, but I had no room because I'm doing work on both sides. If he had an agent on the other side and I wasn't working the deal both ends, yeah, sure, I would have given you something back. But here I have no room because I'm literally doing both sides of the deal because he thinks he's so smart. He used a
Yeah.
flat fee company. He's only so lucky to have an agent like me who's willing to do this for him. I could have
It's
just been like,
basically a
hey,
FISBO at that point. It's a
yeah,
FISBO for sale by
yeah,
owner. For anybody listening and doesn't know what a FISBO is. And I have worked with FISBOs before, but I always told them, look, guys, if you want me to do the deal for you, it's 4% because I'll need the money to help you sign your contracts, make sure everything's compliant, everything's good. And you got to pay for that. It's not going to be free. And then the 3 is coming for me bringing the buyer and doing the marketing part of the,
yeah.
the whole thing. That was my deal back in 2019, 2020. I'd
And
probably,
you always see FISBOs are
yeah,
selling for much less
yeah,
than what it would if you put it on the MLS really with the right agent. I feel like
correct.
more than ever, I think people who don't use agents are the ones always suffering, always suffering. Like you may save 5 grand in the big scheme of things, but you've actually
But
lost
do
out on
you?
more,
But
much
do
more.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But do you save? You think you're saving 5, but you're actually losing 20% of the
Yeah.
value of the home.
So
And
many times. Like
that's
I'll
a
see a
statistic.
$400,000 house on FISBO at 350, and I'm like, why did they list at 350? Because the comps are showing otherwise. But obviously, they didn't have somebody pulling comps for them. They didn't have somebody marketing it correctly. So yeah, a wholesaler went there, napped it for 350, and
Put
then
it
I
back
sold
up
that
for
same
4.
house at 375
Yeah.
and walked away with 25 more. And the FISBO guys, oh great, they have no idea. They have no
Yeah.
idea how much they're undervaluing their own home sometimes.
Or over pricing
Yeah.
it. And then they're sitting on the market for 365 days and everybody's wondering what's wrong with the home and
Yeah.
nobody's showing up or making offers
Yeah.
on it anymore.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
such a realistic thing that happens every day. And it's so hard to, I don't know why, but real estate agents get this bad rep about not doing anything. I don't think we have communicated our values or our jobs properly to our clients. And it's just tough because now we're in this loop and that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
Because you don't send them like an attorney. When you work with an attorney, they send you every minute of what they did for you. And then they
Right.
bill you $1,000 for their
Yeah.
1 hour or 2 hours of work, but they did we printed 100 pages, delivered it, color print this much, blah, 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 blah. And they itemize everything in their invoice, which is amazing. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, I absolutely think we should have a list like that where we say, hey, we did this, spend so many hours, spend this much time on doing comms.
Yeah.
This is how much the photography, the thing, the
The research,
adverts.
the showing up, the this, the that, the other thing, getting into because the work doesn't start when you show up at the house. The work starts way before that. That's
Correct.
what I mentioned earlier is like, hey, a
Correct.
person wants to see 3 houses in a day. That's an hour and a half work prior to me leaving my house to get all the information, scheduling, as you said, using showing time, getting the map, printing that out, giving it to them, printing out the sheets with the information, giving it to them, having conversations with the agents on the houses, getting the information you need, then go to the house, show the house, each house 30 minutes, go to the next one, 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how the house is. It's a lot of work. And then,
Yeah.
and every single time I was like, okay, I spend on my insurance $1,200 every 6 months for my commercial insurance for my car because I'm in real estate and this is a commercial business. But you break it down and you're like, hey, my insurance costs this much for this, my gas this much, wear and tear on my car this much. If you actually break it down and say, look, guys, this is how much it costs me to show you three
Right.
houses.
Yeah. And I think no
And
one's going to want to see it because they really hate that agents have this reputation of just opening doors. Like
yeah,
every time someone says that, I want to punch them.
yeah, it's like we don't just open
We
doors.
don't just open doors.
Yeah, exactly. Plus Supra costs this much per month to get into a house. We have to pay for that. We have to pay for our marketing, our websites, etc.
Mhm.
If you break it down, okay, man, my business costs me a month $2,500 just to run my business without paying anything to myself yet.
Yeah.
So the one deal a month doesn't really cut it.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you share a success story with our client? Client came in unsure and you helped them navigate the process.
Yeah, I feel like I've had quite a few. I've been lucky like that. A couple years ago, I had this family. They were a big joint family. The family was splitting. They needed two houses. The incomes were super tight. But I know that with new builds, sometimes they only have their lender. But I think if you have a good lender on your end, like I said, my brother-in-law is a lender. So we figured out a way of how to get them pre-approved. And we got, I think they were buying KB or DR Horton, one of them at that time. They approved him because he is one of their approved lenders. He's closed with them before. So their lending team couldn't do it. We got him in. The numbers were tight. We broke it down. We actually negotiated the price with the builder because usually builders don't like to
They
negotiate
don't
their
like
price.
breaking on the price. No.
Yeah, but I'm like, we don't have a choice. It's two homes, right? Before it even starts building in the community. It took us, like, we started in Kissimmee, we moved to St. Cloud. We had to like get them to move out a bit, but it was still like on the Narcoossee side of St. Cloud, so still not too far out. A great area. Now it's coming up a lot, and now the homes, they've got great built-in equity into the house and stuff like that. So ultimately, we were able to get them. They were again one of those people down to the last penny. Like I did not know how we were going to close. The AC stopped working on the final walkthrough, and I'm like, oh my God, we're supposed to close. We have to push back closing another week. Pushing back closing means all their prorations were changing. I'm like, oh my God, the dollar amount is changing again. Like literally, they were down to the penny. And but both homes they closed back to back. So that was a good, and this was the time when the builders were not even paying that well. But they were hardly paying. I think Ryan was paying only 3,500 flat, I think, at that time. Ryan Homes.
Every Ryan I talk to is like $500, and I'm like, guys, I
Yeah,
don't even
30.
know why you work with
I did like
agents.
three homes with Ryan Homes, and I'm like, listen, you need to pay more. Anyhow, and Ryan Home has been a stickler with price because they start building only after they're pulling permits, even after you are under contract. So they don't even start construction. But I think KBDR, they were more open to negotiating. Anyways, we got these two into the thing. And I think I've had multiple such stories where buyers have come and there'd be times I'd look at the pre-approval, run the numbers and be like, I don't know how they're going to close because it's so tight. And typically with first-time home buyers, a lot of them make this mistake where they only have their down payment ready. Like it's funny because nobody talks to them about closing costs. So that's one thing I always start that conversation. When they're first-time home buyers, I look at the pre-approval, I call the lender and I'm like, hey, listen, have you verified funds? And they're like, yeah, they have the 3.5%. I'm like, so where's the closing cost coming from? This is where that conversation starts with the buyer and being like, hey, maybe we want to buy something a little less expensive. So we have more money to put down in the event that the seller doesn't give us closing credits. Because every time an FHA person comes in, the lenders told them they can get 6% towards closing costs.
Yeah,
Well, that's if the seller agrees.
yeah.
If the seller doesn't agree, then what are you going to do for the money? I don't
I
want
have a
them to
deal
fall
like
in
that right
love.
now.
Yeah,
I
I
need to
don't
get
want them to fall in
9%.
love with something they cannot have.
Yeah, I
Right?
have a deal like that right now in the works. Not a deal really yet, but I have a buyer that is a single mom with a kid. I've helped them before. They got divorced, sold them their house originally, and then sold their house when they got divorced. And now she's back and she's like, Lance, I need a house, et cetera, et cetera. And she talked to the lender. She's pre-approved. She got her credit up, everything. She has a little bit of cash set aside. And then the lender's, Lance, we need to get 6% from the seller concessions towards the loan. And then you're going to negotiate your fees too. And I'm like, okay, so 9%, like that's a
That's a big
big
number.
that's a big ask. But
Yeah.
there are some people out there that are desperate to sell and they will do it. Or I used to do this a lot. Hey, how about we give you 10 grand more towards the purchase if it
That's if it
appraises?
appraises.
If it appraises, yes, and then you give us that money back towards closing, and it would be built into the loan. And that used to happen, and it was working fine. But
I've
most
had
of my
it
appraisals are
backfire
coming
for
in low
people.
now, which is
Yeah.
crazy. I'm like, wow.
Are
Like,
coming 20, 30, 40 below.
and
And
I'm
I've
like, what's
actually had
going
that
on
happen on
here?
my flips.
Yeah.
Went under contract at full asking, wanted 5%. Appraisal comes in 30 below. Like
Wow.
30 below. The house next door sold. And she said that she deducted 25,000 for the kitchen. I'm like, there is no kitchen that costs 25,000. Like, I can get you a brand new kitchen on 10 grand. I
Yeah.
wanted her to adjust it, refused to adjust it. It was a VA loan. So I was stuck with that appraisal. It was an absolute nightmare.
Did you
Yeah,
lose
these things
money on
can
that?
backfire. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah, yeah.
that's BS.
And I did renovate the kitchen. And so when it went into appraisal, I spoke to a VA loan and he said if the home has been improved, they have to do a new appraisal. Then the old appraisal doesn't stick.
So you went in and did the kitchen just to get the numbers
For
out.
8 grand.
And
I
how much
renovated the
did you
kitchen
get
for
the
8 grand and
25?
I got it appraised at full value.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's between you and me. We can do that, but not every seller is out there that can manage to do that. I had this fully renovated house. Comps were coming in at 300K and the appraisal came in at 275.
Oof.
I'm like, and our contracted price was 292. And we told the guys, like, look, man, you agreed to 292. Yeah, but I'm not going to pay over appraised value. I'm like, you agreed to 292 no matter what. I know you don't want
But
to
I
come
mean,
because he
if they
had the
don't have the
money to
cash
put
to
in the
bridge it, what
extra.
are they going to do?
He had the money. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing. He just didn't want to pay more than
Pay.
appraised value. Like appraised value is an independent opinion on a home.
Yeah.
Let's get another appraiser. Oh, we don't want to do that either. I'm like, so my sellers, because it was a flip, they were like, Lance, let's just take it. We're not going to pay their agents. We'll pay you.
Oh,
So he could pay his own agents. And
yeah.
that's what ended up happening. So basically, my guys saved whatever $7,000 or $8,000 on paying because they were okay with paying concessions as long as the money was
There. Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And
I've had crazy appraisals where in Lake Mary, I closed on a house. It had you walk into the living room and then you take stairs down. It's not an extension, it is part of the house. The appraiser was unwilling to calculate that in the square footage.
What?
So 400 square feet gone.
That's a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
That's huge per
Oh, yeah.
square feet. So it came in like 25,000 below. Even though if you priced it with that square footage, it was coming up more.
Yeah.
Appraiser unwilling to budge, saying that the new laws say that we cannot count this extra space. But it's attached to the house. It's not
And it's
an
under air.
ADU. It's under air.
Yeah.
They didn't count it.
Huh.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, you never know which way it's going to go.
Oh, you never with an appraiser. And they're picky because they go to school for 4 years for this. So they're like really stubborn about how they price the homes.
Yeah.
And it's just tough. It's tough. It's always been tough with appraisers. It's like I sent him because he asked me for comps and I sent him the comps. He didn't take those comps into consideration. I'm like, there's a house and he only looked at the MLS data. And I know for a fact because the house I pulled was in the county records that it sold and how much it sold for. It was a smaller house, an older house, and it sold for over $300,000 and within a month or two of our sale. And he didn't look at that house because he just went in MLS or wherever and pulled the data from there instead of going into the tax assessor's websites and actually pulling data from the actual sales. He only pulled sales comps from I knew that because I saw it. And I'm like, come on, man. You got to put this in there because this is a definite modifier for the value of the home.
Value. Yeah. But they never budge. Almost never. Once I've had the appraiser adjust it. Once.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Up north in Massachusetts reminds me of appraisers. We were selling my grandma's house was for sale and they actually get a new appraisal if they don't like the first one. And you just get a new appraisal? That's how, we just get a new appraisal. I'm like, that's amazing. Down here.
But that can also go any which way.
It can.
But
I can't believe that the buyers are willing to do that. And they're up there, they're okay with it. And I'm like, that is amazing. Why aren't they like that down here? Of course, you don't want to pay more for a house. I understand that.
But like with VA and FHA, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the FHA locks in for 3 months. VA as well.
Too.
Yeah.
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you do, and this
improvement,
which is now my golden I'm taking this is a golden nugget, guys. Come on. I've been in real estate for 10 years. I didn't know that. And this is amazing information because now I know it's like, guys, just update a bathroom and boom, We could
If
get
you
a
have
new
improved
appraisal.
it, you can get a new appraisal and it will hold.
Yes. So that just makes the world, it's
Yeah,
like,
it
hey,
makes a huge
spend the five
difference.
grand on a bathroom. That's not that big of an
Yeah.
investment. We can get a new
Hmm.
appraisal. We'll tell the buyer to hold off. It's like, look, guys, we're gonna do an update,
Improvement.
and then we
Yeah.
can reappraise the property.
Yeah.
So everybody will be happy.
Yeah. So my 8,000 got me 25 more.
Yeah. It's a good investment.
Exactly.
Awesome. One thing that sets you apart is your ability to serve diverse communities. Thanks to your fluency in Gujarati, is that a right way to
Yeah,
say
it's a
that?
different dialect. India has 25 different
Oh
languages
yeah,
or
yeah.
more. So it's from a place of Gujarat. That's where my parents are originally from. I speak it fluently, and it definitely helps. And obviously knowing Hindi, which is the national language of India, and English, because a lot of families bring their parents in from back home, and the parents want to be part of the purchase process, but then they feel so left out when they don't understand what's going on. So more than often, you'll see Indian clients look for Indian agents so that I can involve their parents in the process and take their opinions on certain things and understand what's going on,
So,
so on and so forth. So it definitely helps.
definitely. And how has this shaped your business and the relationships you build? Now that you said this, parents' communication for sure. Any other
Yeah, I
ways
think
that
this
it's
is where the whole way India is a culture, I think, most of I would say South Asia, right? You have this
yeah,
very family oriented culture. So that also becomes where they invite me to their kids' birthday parties. They invite me to their parents' farewell parties. And I do my best to go to most of them because it's a big deal culturally for them to open up their home, their heart, and then that that now becomes a way of now they trust me. I'm in their safe space. And through that comes a lot of referrals. They go over and above sometimes to introduce me to people and be like, no, you have to use my agent. She is the best. So I appreciate all that. And I think it definitely helps. Of course, I have regular American clients too, because my partner is Caucasian and she and I work a lot together and we service everybody the same. But I think having the cultural diversity to give older Indian parents that sense of inclusion has definitely been, I think, something that helps me grow.
that is awesome. And how do your services remain accessible and inclusive? How do you ensure accessibility and inclusion?
See, like I said, I'm very responsive.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people you can't get hold of. If you can't get hold of me, I'm most likely have dropped dead. So it's like one of those things. Like I'm anybody you ask, I will, as far as possible, I will pick up my phone. If I can't pick up my phone, I will text you back. But on text, I'm like this. I always have my phone with me. It's only like on DND between midnight and 6 a.m. because literally at that time I need to sleep. But beyond after between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., if you text me, you'll hear back.
That's
I think
awesome.
I'm okay with answering, no matter how silly the question is, I'm okay to answer it.
There are no silly questions.
Unless I don't have cell connection. But
Yeah.
if you can text me, I will call you back.
They always say that in school that there's no wrong questions, which is
Yeah.
good because that's you learn every question you ask, you learn something
And
new.
I'm the same way. If I don't understand something, I will ask you about it. I have no
Yeah.
shame in asking. I'm not worried about looking silly or stupid because I'd rather know than pretend to know.
Yeah. So you also specialize in fix and flips and new construction investors. We talked about a little bit. What should first time investors be looking for in today's market?
This time, the one thing I always say, and this is my niche in a way, I run really good comps. I'm almost on point with the appraiser on many times, unless to like that property where they didn't count square footage, right? That was nothing that I foresee coming in. Like I did not know they were not going to count 435 square feet. Besides that, like RPR is a great tool. I use it a lot to run my comps. And when you're fixing and flipping, your math is all you can rely on, really. So you go with ARV, what your after repair value, and you start working backwards from there. So then I always run it like that. And I always keep a spread of over 125,000. The spread is from what you purchase to what you put in to what you sell it at, right? There should be 125,000 in the middle for you to play with from what you buy, because typically any renovation runs about 50 to 60,000. And then what you sell it for, you'll have holding costs, closing costs, all that. So to make it a very safe deal, you need about 125 between buy and sell. Anything less than that becomes a very tight deal. And with this market, with buyers offering 30, 40 below, you may barely break even if you don't keep your numbers right. So it's
Mhm.
okay to be conservative with your deals. Some people love to go aggressive and buy 6 homes at one time and have this crew do this. And that's great. If you have the ability to do that and have that kind of cash flow to do it. Is it possible? Yeah, it's doable, it's possible, all of that is there. But running your numbers correctly is key.
That's definitely a big one. What's a checklist, a personal checklist when you're evaluating these deals?
So for me, obviously, I've done enough flips. I've done about 12 now. So I know how much things cost. I know how much each bathroom is going to cost me. I know how much the kitchen is going to cost me. I know how much the roof is going to cost me. And how much the pool renovation, if there's one, screens. So I have a number, right? So I start doing my math as I'm going along. Then I pull my comps on it, see how much I can sell it for, what's the time it's going to, because there's a holding cost, which most people don't put into things. So every month you're holding that. You have electricity, water, bills, taxes, all of that into that. To hold a property is easily about $1,000 a month, easy if it's cash. And if you have a mortgage on it, then add the mortgage to that, right? So $4,000 to $5,000 a month to hold it. That goes every month. You're holding the property. So your renovation cost, holding cost, closing costs, all that. What am I left with? I'm going to make 30,000. Is that enough? Does that give me enough risk ability or not? So I have been buying a lot less this year, only because the market is so volatile. I sold one in Castleberry. I sold it 30 below asking, 35 below asking. So instead of walking away with 60,000, I walked away with 30,000 at this point after everything. And I got lucky because in a sense it was cash. I knew there was a lot of fewer ifs and buts on it. I didn't have to wait on appraisal and stuff like that. So I took the deal, even though it was not making me as much as I thought I would. And as an investor, that's your moment, right? You have to assess if you want to just cash out and move on, or you want to hold on for a larger number. But I always say your first offer is your best offer. If you can make that offer work for you, just do it. Don't hold on too tight. As an investor, that's a bad move. When you start walking away from good, viable offers, I feel like that's where your downturn starts.
Yeah.
Don't be too cocky about what you can get for it, because the
Oh,
market at the end of
definitely.
the day is absolutely unreliable.
I work with several investors, and I have the two on two different sides. You got the guy that I want this much for it because I've done
Right.
so much work, and you got the guy that's more humble and I'll accept to make less money.
Right.
So I do have on the spectrum, both ends of the spectrum. And it's always the guy that's more humble that walks away faster with a better deal, probably, than the one that is pushing the maximum limits. The guys that always push this is where we come in as experts in this and pricing the property, is the guys that are trying to push the maximum, they don't understand that how much less buyers are out there for 5 or 10 or 15% over market value. I always show
Right.
them the pyramid. If you price it 15% over market value, you get 5% of the buyer pool or
Right.
less. If you price it 10%, you get 15% of the buyer pool. If you price it at market, you'll get 50% of the buyer pool. If you price it below market by 5%, you add another 15%. And then, and you get more and more buyers the lower the price goes.
Right.
So if your number is $50,000 that you want to make, price it at that. Don't price it at 80 because, they're going to come in and negotiate anyways.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of times we get that.
Yeah. And
You just hold
I'm
tight.
actually facing that with one of my listings right now. Originally, the comps were at like about 520. I said it seems high to me because, yeah, the house is nicely renovated, but not as fancy as the one that sold in that price range. We should start at 5. They said, no, let's try at 520. Then he said, I don't want to drop below 5. We're at 490 now, right? And now
Yeah.
it's been sitting on the market like 90 some days. So now it's old news, but we're at the price we should have been very early on. So
Yes.
now the
You lost
struggle
out
is
that
like,
marketing.
why isn't it selling? Because now people are thinking something's wrong with it because we've been dropping the price on it. I do believe every house has a buyer. It does sell eventually, but it takes a lot of. Sometimes they're so stuck that I want to walk away with 60,000 or 70,000 as an investor, and I'm like, maybe then let's just put a 10 in 10 for now, because the market is not going to get you that kind of money in this market. So put a 10 in 10, hold it for a year, and we'll sell it next year. And I've
Yeah.
had clients do that in the past. Think about it. He's getting 2,500 rent. In one year, he's making 30,000 on it. Even if he sells it only at 30 profit next year, he's still getting his 60 that he originally wanted.
Yeah.
So it's a smart way of doing it if you have the ability to hold. Then sometimes it's, oh, I need to cash out. Like and I always tell investors who come to me, don't put all your cash into this because I'm not a magician. I can give you data, but I cannot guarantee you anything. I myself have landed up holding a house and put a tenant in there out of my 10 flips.
Yeah.
Did I get it wrong on that house? No. The data proved that I could have because the house across the street sold at 360, but I was not even getting 320 for mine because a hurricane hit and the market shifted. Nothing I can do about it, right? So at the end of the day, when they come in with 400,000, Farzana, here, take 400, do something, make me the money, I can try and I will give you all the data and I'll never give you a house that I wouldn't buy for myself. So I will do it very honestly, but at the end of the day, how the market performs once the house is ready, I cannot guarantee that. I can only do my best.
And I always say this to my wife too when we do investment properties is I look at several aspects of an investment. Number one, how much can we make on it if we flip it? Number two, how much the rental comps are if we have to hold it.
Hold it.
If we have
Yes.
to hold it for longer period of time, can we make enough money to and then mortgage the property, pull the cash out so you can go on the next
Yeah.
project, but you can hold it for a year or two as a rental, and then you can go in, do a minor repair to it, and then sell it. But you always have to look at multiple aspects of an investment. You can't
Correct.
just look at it, oh, I'm going to buy it for this much, sell it for this much, and make a buttload of money. No, that's one aspect of it. The other one
Yep.
is
Yep.
how much will it rent for, and what if a crash happens? What are you going to do at that point with it?
Yeah.
And is that a good exit too if you just make your money back, etc. So I always look at it, and short-term rental options are now on the table in a lot of cases as well as, hey, but if I could Airbnb it, I could make a 10-15% return on my money per year. Do you want to hold that? Do you want to have that responsibility? What else does that entail?
Yeah.
And
For
go
me,
through
that's
those.
why one of the reasons I love Seminole County is because the school district is so good. Rental is very easy here. So if I
Yeah.
do land up holding it, I can get really good rents over here.
Yeah.
Because it's always quality families, right? Because people are looking to invest in their kids' future, education, so on and so forth. School district is still the best here in all of Central Florida. You get good rental. So I prefer it because in a sense it's a safe bet for me.
We just went up to A rating, by the way, Volusia County, since 2008, the first time. Now we're A rated school district, Volusia County is,
Nice.
which is good because you have the land property. That's A rated. So how does construction quality and location play into long-term value?
I think location is number one. Construction quality, obviously, like at this point, how do you know? You review some builders. Obviously, Lenard has a reputation, KB, DR, whatever, Ashton Woods. And the higher the tier of builder, you get a better build cost. If you're doing your own build, you obviously want to research the builder, try to go through a reference through somebody. At the end of the day, it's like asking which is a good doctor, right? We don't know. We're not from that field. Unless you've actually studied it, you would not know what to look for, what to find. So you only go by reputation, referrals, reading about that person, about that builder. But I think that if it's in a good neighborhood, a good location, that is key. Like when they say location, no truer words were spoken. I think that is your number one. I think everything else can follow. If you like where it is located, everything else is gravy.
Definitely. Looking ahead, what trends are you seeing in Seminole County and Central Florida that buyers and investors should know about?
The one thing I'm seeing is that it is actually a good investor market because if you think about it, the buyer pool is really small. So if you have money to invest, one, the market is super slow right now. So sellers are negotiating. As an investor, I think this is the right time because you buy, you hold, you put tenants in. Secondly, we know there's all this talk about legislation about homestead properties may be getting rid of property taxes. So the market's going to explode. At that time, all properties will get affected to some degree. I still think that on an investor side, buy and hold as much as you can. Because at that time, if you do want to sell, you will get more for your home. Because there will be people moving in and making this their primary home or their primary location or their second home or whatever. The snowbirds will start buying more because right now they're also renting because there's all this anxiety about what's happening in Florida and in general. I do believe that as an investor, no time like the present. Like I'm not of even I mean I may be conservative on my flips, but I'm not afraid of buying and holding because I know that it's going to pay off. It's just a matter of time the scales are going to tip. And I think most buyers who are holding off, waiting for the rates to drop, are making a big mistake.
I think
Because
so
when the
too.
rates drop, the prices are going to soar and they'll be in a worse situation in bidding wars all over again. So if as a buyer you have the funds and you are pre-approved, buy now.
Yeah. And you and I both, we keep telling that every single podcast since last year. I started this podcast last year about this time. And every interview I did, same exact thing since then. It's like, guys, it's time to buy. If you're ready, I mean, actually, for 10 years, I've been saying this. You should buy when you're ready to buy. You
Yeah.
shouldn't wait for a dip in the market or a better interest rate or anything like that. Because value of property will climb because there are just more and more people on this earth. Land is whatever it is. You don't make more land. So inflation's every year.
Yeah.
We're not deficit in inflation ever. We're always in positive inflation. So 3% growth, you'll always get through your home. If you have that cash sitting on your account, you're losing 3% on your money per year on a regular year in inflation.
Right.
But if it's in a house, you're gaining that 3% because values go
And
up.
sooner or later, the market always flips in the favor. It never stays down. There will be maybe 7.5 years is the cycle, but that the wave come and go. Right now, it's stagnant.
Yeah, but it goes up, flat, up,
flat.
It doesn't really. It's not 2008. So we had that happen, which was once every 75, 80 years, something like that happens.
Yeah.
We had it happen. You're not going to have it happen in your lifetime again, probably. Whatever you say, it's always a good thing, especially if you're buying long term. But if you're not buying to turn it around in a few months or a year or two, but you're planning on staying there for 6, 7 years, which is the average a person stays.
I always tell people, at least investors, you should have the ability to hold for 5 years. Because if you try to sell anything below 5 years, chances are you're not going to make anything on it. Yeah. Maybe even upside down.
Sometimes, yeah, definitely.
Sometimes, yeah.
I've done that to myself. I shot myself in the foot. I bought a phase 1 Lennar home. They didn't disclose. They put it on the flyer, which I didn't read through everything, but in the small letters in the bottom, it said it's a solar community and you're going to have to purchase solar panels. So I spent the $18,000 extra dollars on solar panels. Yes, 2 weeks into the contract. Have you signed your solar agreement? I said, what's solar agreement? This wasn't in the original contract. Well, I just sent it over to you. I'm like, great. Why couldn't you send it over with the original contract so I could read through it? But you can walk away still, but we're going to take your $20,000. But it was something out of this world. And as an agent, I can't believe that they're not held to any ethics. They're not. And that's why you should have an agent when you go in to a new construction builder. They are not
always tell people this. Never go into a new construction
ethics.
Without an agent.
They're salespeople like car salesmen. There's no code of ethics there. So you should have somebody behind you overlooking the transaction, making sure everything is done properly. I didn't do it for myself. That's one thing. If there would have been another client, I would have made sure thoroughly that everything is disclosed upfront before we get into. I was just really hasty of getting it done. They didn't have the sales center open yet. It was phase 1. I'm like, get in phase 1, boom, buy the house. It was done in 3 or 4 months after we signed the contract.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I lost about $9,000 on that house at the end of the day.
9,000 is not a bad number. Let me tell you,
not a bad number.
It's not a bad number.
Yeah. If we look at the purchase and sale, I had it rented for about a year, so I evened out with it. Let's say this.
Yeah.
We broke
even at 9. That's not a loss. That's just a learning lesson. That's how much you paid in college for a degree in that, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
for one course of something.
But then I went and invested that money in stocks and made $20,000 with it. So I was like, okay, I made up the money that I lost over there, which is good. That's what you should be doing. It was just, these are the things that we are for. We should be here for our clients. And that's just the thing.
There's a new build community that is actually zoned flood AE. And most people don't know that it's in a flood zone and they're buying. And every time I get a call about the community, I'm very upfront about it. I said, you're aware that it's in a flood zone. You're going to need flood insurance. And thrown off. Imagine they walked into their office. No one there is going to tell them this.
Unless you ask about it, they're not going to say anything about it.
No. They totally underplay it too. Oh, everybody in Florida needs flood insurance. No, that is not true. I agree. True. It's great to have, but it's not a requirement.
Plus, if you're in a zone X, it might cost you $500 or $400 for the year. If you're a zone in AE, it could cost you upwards north of $2,000 some places. So it's a big difference when you're paying $200 a month or $25 a month for your flood insurance.
Yep.
That's a big difference in your mortgage payments.
Yeah. And I always tell people, new build, freaking call an agent. Call an agent and take them. You're going into a shark pool.
Yes.
They're not going to let you walk out without that home.
And the other thing is you don't pay for your agent.
Yeah,
They
they're
do.
paying for it.
They're
Yeah,
paying for it. So they want you to have an agent, basically.
yeah, absolutely. And if you go in without it, there's so many mistakes you could make. So many mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. So what advice would you give to someone just starting out in real estate investing?
For investing, I always say first understand how much money you're willing to. At the end of the day, any investment is a risk. There is some, there's no guarantee with any form of investment. Know that's money that is going to grow, but it's not an immediate growth. Yeah, fix and flips can give you that ability, but also have the ability to or understand that you may have to hold it and then sell it in a year or two to actually make the money back. There are many scenarios. So always let investment money be free money you have the ability to play with. Do not put life savings into investment. I'm not for that at all. I've done it. That's because I'm just a risk taker, but I don't recommend that to most people because it gives them a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. And pick somebody who knows what they're doing. Like I would say I'm a seasoned investor now. I'm a seasoned flipper. I do a lot of fix and flips. I understand it. Come to a person like me, have a discussion. It costs nothing. At the end of the day, if you feel comfortable, then move ahead. If you don't, then maybe now's not the time for you. So you have to have some courage and free money to be able to do this. Don't just take a risk blindly. Go in, like it has to be calculated.
What would you say is like a good amount of cash? Because we're talking cash here. We're not talking finance deal. Although you could start with finance deals, small fixes, making $10,000 on a small changes like fixing the kitchen up, the bathrooms. You could get a mortgage on a house that's dated. You go in, you fix it up, and you sell it, but you could still get a mortgage on it because the roof is okay and the
Yeah.
mechanicals are okay. You could start like that. But let's say cash wise, if you're looking at a cash deal, because you're looking at the diamond in the rough kind of thing, crappiest
I think
house
a
on the
good
block.
amount to have is about 250,000.
Yeah.
250 is a good number to have in spare to be able to do that because you can then get something nice and then move it around. If it's less than that, then you have the condo and then the holding fees on condos and stuff become really high because you have all this HOA you're paying monthly. Could the flip, you could do it at 150 because you could start a condo in and around that 150, 200 range, but condos now are sitting so much longer. So your holding cost may be more. It may eventually come down to all of that or partner up with somebody like me, right? Because I have really good leverage on my hard money loans. I can get them sometime as low as 5 to 10% LTV. So that changes the ball game for me. So I can buy a $300,000 house with only 30,000 at the end of the day. And my Amex flat will allow me a construction loan
Basically, yeah.
on the property. I think the risk factor is there, but I think you need upwards of 150 to definitely start investing. And like I said, it should be money that you don't need right away. It shouldn't be emergency funds. It shouldn't be life savings. It's got to be money you're okay to play with. It will come back around though. I feel like as long as you have the ability to hold it, that money will grow for you.
Yeah, definitely. 150 sounds okay. That's a good chunk change. I agree with the quarter million though, because as you and I were saying that you need a little better house. Like you could buy houses in my area for $120,000, north of 120. You could get a house. You could get 150 is like you could get, but it's the area as well. You got to be careful of where you're buying the house as well. Because I say you do the renovations, you put your 50 into it, you buy it for 135,000 in a bad area, you put 50 into it. Now you're at 185, and you could only sell it for 210. Now you're not really making a killing with it.
Yeah, it's
So
location always. I cannot stress enough that location really dictates what you're going to sell it for.
yeah,
And I think also keep in mind how close are new construction homes in proximity, right? If I can walk into that builder and buy that house at 350, why am I going to pay you 350 for your old house that's renovated? Because
yeah,
now the builder is giving me closing costs and all this jazz of a rate buy down and all of this. So be mindful. This is where I always say, whenever you're investing in real estate, reach out to a professional, especially a professional who is well versed in that area. So I know right away if you're telling me 32773, I'm like, hey, you know what? Builders are building there. I wouldn't flip in that area. I will flip
got
on
you.
my side 32771 because there's not much new construction here. You need to know the area that you're buying and investing in, and that's where the professional comes in.
Correct. That's awesome. Great advice, by the way. How can buyers and investors position themselves for success in the coming year?
This is a tough one, right? Because you're asking a little bit of a eight ball question. I think the only thing, like I said, real estate to me is a very safe investment because with the ups and downs too, you never see a severe down. At best, you will flatten out, you will be stagnant, but you'll always, the rental market is here. Statistically, I think Florida has about 4,500 people move here daily, if I'm not mistaken. So you always have, and nobody comes in and jumps right into purchasing. A lot of people rent first before they figure out where they want to buy. So real estate in Florida, I think, is really safe. As long as you've picked a good location, good school district, or maybe even close to Disney on that side. I don't think rental is great on that side. I think rental is better on this side. But of course, now properties are more expensive on this side. Whatever your long-term plans are, if you feel like you can hold it for 5 years, which I think is the minimum you should be able to hold it at when you come into investing, come in with that mindset, buy in a good location, rent it out, and you will in 5 years make money on the house, if not today. The rental is going to help you pay. Like for me, the two properties that I own that I rent out, I'm not making a profit on them, but my mortgage gets paid. So I have my tenants paying my mortgage. I'm happy with that. And eventually the end goal is that the value of the home will increase, and that's when I'll make my money.
Okay, so I know that a lot of people say this in the business of flipping homes. You make your money at the purchase. Have you heard that saying before?
I haven't. No.
Okay, all the investors I speak to, the guys that are in short-term rentals and all these guys, they always like, you got to make your money at the purchase. So basically get the best deal possible at start. Which you do that. You know, has to be a spread of 125,000 for me to make my money. You do that. Maybe you didn't think about it this way. That's what they always say is like, you got to be at the purchase. Yeah. That's always a good advice for investors starting up is like you make your money.
Especially if you're buying cash, I think you have a lot more leverage because everybody prefers a cash deal unless it's like a seller who's not super motivated. Then to them, it doesn't matter whether you're paying cash or because they're getting paid the same amount at the end of the day. But we as seasoned agents know that the appraisal and all these other factors and the loan collapsing. And I had a client who lost her job on the day of closing. That wouldn't have been a factor had it been a cash sale. So there's loan deals are definitely more volatile. So any day cash is king in that sense. But as an investor, I think you do have leverage. You have more room of negotiation. Right now, the market is slow and sellers are negotiating heavily. Like I said, again, no time like the present. As an investor, now is the time to buy.
Yeah, definitely. I give you all that. Farzana, thank you so much for joining us today. Your passion for helping, your passion for helping buyers and investors achieve financial freedom truly shines through. For those listening, if you're looking to buy your first home, invest in a new construction property, or simply need expert guidance through the loan process, you can connect with Farzana at Financial Freedom Pathway US or follow her on Instagram at Farzana Zalil, if I pronounced that.
Actually, the best way is to just text me. Honestly, forget all that. It's 407-617-3258.
There you go. She gave her phone number right here in the video. It's going to be down in the comment sections as well or in the description, so you can find her there.
That's like really the best way because everything else, I think it'll take me time, but if you text me, you'll have an answer right away.
That's awesome. So text her.
Yes.
That's it for this episode of the Real Estate Roundtable. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with anyone looking to break into the real estate world. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing smart. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Lancelot. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.